Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob. Alongside me is RDV. He's from the Great Midwest. I, of course, am coming to you from Central Florida, the hot, sweaty, sultry birthplace of Tori from hashtag Team Tori, which I'm representing tonight as we are talking about Cobra Kai Season 5. Of course, typically on Tuesday nights, RDV, we talk action films and all that, but we love some Cobra Kai. We both binge watched it over the weekend, so we just got done watching. I have to say, for my initial take on Cobra Kai Season 5, we've had 5 seasons now of roughly 30-minute episodes, majority of being very good. I said it then that I was not the biggest fan of Cobra Kai and the first movie and all that stuff, or the second or the third. They were mildly interesting from a juvenile middle school perspective, because that's what they were when they came out. But for me, this TV show does a great job of carrying on the franchise into the current times, into the future. Every time we watch a season, we review it here on the Xtreme Movie Show. We're like right now, I'm waiting for season 6. This is a show that, for me, is a perfect example of if you have the right people involved, which you do in here, you have the respect of the intellectual properties and all that, you can find a way to center around some things, twist some things around, involve some new characters, maybe some old, whether the actresses want to be a part of or not, and elevate brand new ones like we've seen for 5 seasons now. And it can be done right and good. And this is what's infuriating to me, that the majority of crap out there, like Lord of the Rings and everything else there too, totally violates these simple principles. And to me, I think season 5 here of Cobra Kai is one of the best seasons out of all of them. I will say this, there's a scene or two I hate in episode 10, which we'll talk about later. And I think episode 10 is by far the weakest episode. So I want to say you have 9.5 great episodes in the season. But as bad as I might make season or episode 10 out to be here in a little bit later when we talk about these things, it by no means diminishes season 5. It's a lot of fun. You're familiar with the characters. You understand where they're coming from. You've seen the growth of them now. Now is there a chance for you to kind of sit back and watch and get reacquainted with it and just have some fun. But overall, again, I think it's great. If they finished up and never had another episode again, you could say that they ended on a pretty strong note here. Now, I think they'll do a season 6 or maybe in the 7, we'll see, because it's still so powerful and strong. It proves once again that just make good content. You don't have to have a high budget and CGI, and it can work. And even if you've got these highly staged choreographed fights, they're somewhat entertaining for what we see here on Netflix too. So it's probably about the biggest home run I think Netflix has had besides Stranger Things in terms of your content. In terms of quality, to me, Cobra Kai comes very top of the list when it comes to Netflix shows. What's your initial take on season 5 of the Cobra Kai franchise, sir?
Season 5, I think the kids have actually gotten better. They're not as annoying as they were in the previous seasons. Yes, they still little hijinks, there's still some teen angst in here and stuff. But overall, I mean, it was less focused on them as it was focused more on the adults. And I think that's why I like this season better. Chosen coming back, in here for season 5. He's from Karate Kid 2, I believe. Helping out with with Danielson and Johnny. Silver is the big bad guy. They even got the guy who played Frank in here, Frank Burns.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot what his name is, but
that guy.
Well, he was a bad guy from I think was it 3? Yeah, 3. Mike Barnes, that's his name is. Sean Kennan reprised his role. And then you got Robin Lively came back. She was in Karate Kid, I believe 3 as well.
You mean Sensei Kim?
Jessica Andrews.
Okay.
Is their character.
Okay.
But Robin Lively is the actress, yes.
Yep.
She was like the fellow, I guess, love interest in episode or I guess Karate Kid.
Nobody
3.
remembers because nobody really cares about the third movie. Really, that's the thing. They're sure diehard, and there's
that's
not
the thing.
many of them.
I'm a guy who I only watched the first movie. I never watched the second or third one. I had no desire for it. I was like, dude, Johnny's not in this. Why the hell would I care? Johnny was great in the first one, even though he was a punk. So I never really went back and watched the second and third one because I just felt like, okay, you guys are jumping the shark here. You did the whole thing. You won with the legal kick, the crane kick. And that's over with. You didn't need more. So, but I'll say this: just as what I love what they're doing this show is for people like me who have never seen it. When they introduce someone from one of the movies, they show a flashback, a clip from them, and that's usually them sitting down, talking to someone, explaining their part of the story, like who they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I thought that was kind of cool. It's like, you know, because now you caught up. Ash vs. Evil Dead was the first show I remember watching where they ever did this, where they actually showed like the actual clip of the movie, you know, and and explaining what happened and everything. So when they do this, this really catches you up. So, I mean, if people want to go watch the movie, go ahead. I have no desire for it. I mean, I'm perfectly happy that you're caught up with this in the show. But there's so much goes out of this, and I gotta say though, if you're looking for Kreese in this, Kreese is not in it for most of the time. He doesn't come until episode 6.
Yeah,
So,
and you bring up an interesting point.
Which you don't
about
really
having
notice
fun
though.
with the characters. Yeah,
You
you can slip in and out, and like you say, as long as you're given the appropriate treatment where they show you a little bit of it, you go like, oh yeah, this person. Oh yeah, now I know how it relates. That's all you need.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that he wasn't in there. I was too focused on Silver. Silver's performance is great in this. He just totally mind fucks you. So I like that everything's going on with this. You also see the repercussions of Tori winning the tournament, but then she finds out that the rep was paid off, and she's struggling whether she should tell or not or what. You know, and then Silver brings in all these overseas from I think it's from Japan or China, I forget where they're from. But anyway, new sensei team, and he basically his whole thing is make a global dojo instead of having just he wants to be in the world tournament.
Hear me out on Terry Silver. I forget the kid's name, but the one with the big fight there at the end, the African American kid, they overpowered him. But he
Kenny Payne?
matured. He had matured, right?
Yeah.
So, like you said, to your point, you get to see some of the younger characters not be as annoying. You can see them maturing before your eyes, which is cool. You can see this at the other end with Terry Silver, and here's what I mean. This is something that I've been thinking about. The guy's just so damn charismatic. He's tall, 6'2", 6'3", probably. The guy's physically, obviously older. He looks great. I think he's in his element playing it, and we get plenty of Silver. But the problem is, when you start rooting for the bad guy, that means you haven't done your job as a writer. And I'm not saying we're supposed to root for him. The problem I have with what they did with Silver is he's so good. And his female sensei that he brings over, oh my God, she chews every scene. She is like the Jack Palance of Cobra Kai. She is phenomenal.
Yes.
But with Silver, he says what he means. And he means what he says. And yes, he bribed the official to make sure Cobra Kai won. So we understand what's going on with that. And to your point that he gives a speech in season 5, which I think is phenomenal. He talks about like not being married, not having children. So what he wants is legacy for this to move on. And when you get older, that's what the emphasis always becomes. And if you're a rich person, maybe it's you put your name on the side of the building. Maybe you donate it so you have a foundation. Maybe you do scholarships. Maybe you create a public park. Maybe you do something. Maybe you fund something. But the bottom line is his legacy is Cobra Kai and it's martial arts. And the way he explains it to everybody, you're like, this makes sense. But then here's the weird thing that shows up. LaRusso, by and large, to me, is the least likable of all the characters because he is a hothead and he still kind of has that characteristic. But he kind of tries to be the guy that tells you how to be a good guy. And it's like, shut up, LaRusso. You can't even handle your wife and your family business. And in here, we see his wife getting pissed out of him retreating, although I thought she was great in the season, actually. She wasn't as annoying as she normally is. She's right. And unfortunately, by the time we get to the big fight at the end of the seasons here, you're starting going, well, Silver's got kind of a point here. And this is kind of where I'm going because there's obviously, and this is a spoiler, we find out that Johnny and his woman are pregnant, which is good. At first I thought it was going to be, it's just a test, to see if he'll stick around, but no, it really is. And he wants to be a daddy. He's got legacy, right? LaRusso already has his legacy, right? So that's why he's into the teaching. So you can argue about legacy and redemption. Those are two big themes I think that go on. But with Silver, it all makes sense. And unfortunately, this is why I think later when we talk about episode 10, I'm going to really dig deep into it, because is he crazy? Is he a batshit, nonsense kind of guy? Or is he just focused on the fact that, you know what? There's a scene where he somehow magically appears when the elevator door opens, when Johnny or when Lusso and his wife are leaving, and he hops in there and they have a conversation. And it's like, why is he there at the hospital? Didn't he look sickly at the beginning of season 4? Didn't he look all freaked out when Kreese came to recruit him? He's obviously a warrior like Kreese. They both got I don't know if brain damage is the right thing, but PTSD, something. So you're starting to wonder, wait a minute, maybe in his own way, Silver has seen the light. I don't mean good versus bad. I mean a clear-cut vision of what he wants, because he is friggin' on fire this whole season, and it's a shame what they do to him at the end of the season.
I gotta say though, I like the fact that they kept Silver being a punk what he is, because Kreese was the bad guy. Silver was the guy who took things too far, where Kreese was more laid back. He was, Kim Dae-yeon. She that's the name of the person, the character that basically that's working with Silver. She is the granddaughter of Kim Sun-young, the man who taught John Kreese and Terry Silver karate.
Yep.
I love that. Again, she's formidable South Korean sensei in the march of Tang Soo-do. I love the fact that she basically fills the gap with Kreese at Cobra Kai, because Silver is crazy, but he's kind of not that intimidating, where I think Kreese is more intimidating. So basically, she's basically there, like, riding his ass, basically telling him, it's like, I thought you had it under control. Basically chide him, that make him kind of like crack. Because, he's the perfect example is for those who watch The Boys. Silver is kind of like Homelander in a sense, where he starts snapping. He starts losing control, and he starts getting angry, and you see it. You see the mental attitude. You see it in his eyes. This guy is not all there, and he gets pissed when something goes his way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I love that they introduced new characters. Now they introduced along with her, they had other people working under her, and like little goons, which is kind of, and this goes back to the whole thing where we were introduced to the other girl, Jessica Andrews, who basically was in the third movie. She talks about how she talks to basically, and this is why I agree with you, why Daniel's wife is a lot better. Basically tells Amanda, hey, Silver is Silver is a bad person. She's like, wait, Silver? He's like, yeah, dude. It's like he totally effed up Daniel. Ruined his life.
That was a good scene.
And they show the flashback of how they harassed and chased us around there, his goons. Well, and guess what? When you see this woman Kim, with her own goons,
Mm-hmm.
and then how they attack, and as far as what's his name, Johnny at the end, you're getting the same kind of thing that they, as far as them being the goons that work for Silver are now working for him or her and attacking Johnny. So Johnny's getting the same treatment that Daniel got. But yeah, overall, this whole entire season was so good. You really didn't need Kreese in it at all. I think Kreese was be fine, but they let you know as far as what happened to Kreese through Tori going in pretending being his granddaughter, and while she's also spying
she's a
for
secret
him.
double agent.
Yes. Only for so long. Yes. Now I like the fact there was that kid Kenny in here. As far as that's the one you're talking about before, the one that basically rises up to be the new alpha male in the Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm.
Short little guy who's harassing. He's basically he started off as the geek in season 2, I think it was.
I believe he was being bullied
by
the younger fat LaRusso. They're like, why the hell is he even in the show? So you understand his point too, and that's what the show does well. It presents both sides, so you see it develop.
So you see him treating basically the LaRusso brother son, and bullying him the same way that he had bullied Kenny. And he was being, at the time when he joined Cobra Kai, he was under Robbie's mentorship. But then Robbie left. He gets done with Cobra Kai after all that stuff that happened with Kreese and Silver. He was done with it, so he feels betrayed. So this kid is very emotional, and you can see how Silver gets his hooks into him. Even teaches him a new deadly move.
Silver bullet.
Yes.
I popped for that one. I didn't see that. I'd forgotten about it.
Yes. So when I saw that, I was like, I'm like pretty sure that's you kill the guy. It's supposed to like you're supposed to push as hard as you can into the rib cage. I'm like, that is not an illegal move. Like, because they actually use he ends up using it because he has to.
Of
Because
course.
these guys come in,
Well,
they're
it's
from
the secret move.
world
You don't use it.
yeah. These guys
I'm
come
sorry.
in, they're from the world karate tournament, and well,
That's the Kumite.
yes, pretty much the Kumite. Yes, it was just hilarious. Silver, and because and that's another thing too. I love this season also utilizes even for a little bit the younger Martin, or I guess younger Kreese, and the younger Silver, which I do like. I love the guy who plays the younger John Kreese. He looks just like him. Brett Carnahan. He looks just like Martin Krove, as he's younger, and just showing how they have basically. It's revealed that Silver is the one that paid for the dojo for the Cobra Kai. That's how Cobra Kai was started, because Silver's the one that gave him the money. He basically bought the dojo, and they parted their ways. So basically they want to do the Kumite. That's the Silver's goal. He's like, oh, I want to make it global. That we're the only dojo. So the problem is though that Daniel and Chosen and Johnny show up at the saying. And like, oh wait, you told us you're the only dojo in here. So what's cool is these guys basically go around and they get each dojo, Cobra Kai and the rest. They give tours of their training program, and it's revealed that the one main guy is a fan of Rocky IV. That made me pop, sir.
Yeah, because he starts, and that's the thing when you're watching a show. If you're gonna do stuff where you're gonna reference the past and pop yourself and go retro a little bit, this is a way to do it. So Johnny's sitting here talking to the lead guy, and I'm putting in Jean-Claude Van Damme terms here with the Kumite and all that stuff because we're big fans of that here in the Xtreme Movie Show. So the idea is, again, if you don't get these references, it doesn't harm you. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't make you go, I don't understand it. Because the guy even says when Johnny's talking to him, Johnny starts giving the speech about running up the mountain in the snow with carrying stuff on your back. And immediately you and I just in a microsecond have that thought of Rocky IV. And we've said how Rocky IV is an 80s movie with Rocky in it, and not the other way around. It's just based on, American patriotism. And so the guy goes, Drago, oh, I am a big fan of Rocky IV. And you're like, right there, that's enough to tell the audience without being demeaning to them that, okay, it's some sort of movie reference or some sort of reference, and you get that that's what it is, and there's a connection, which is what the important part is in that exchange, that you have two dramatically different methods and approaches to coaching young people, and you're being professional about the best you can, because remember, these are adults that are getting paid to give their legacy in their own form. And Cobra Kai, of course, has the cutting edge spare no expenses model where they've got all sorts of fancy things that they show, including video analysis. And then you have the old school stuff with Johnny where they're kicking watermelons. So either one can work, and that's what this guy has to figure out. But that's how you do references without going overboard. Or like when they had the FBI shirts and they were in Mexico, I'm looking at them going, I bet this is going to be female body inspector. And my wife's looking at me like, what? And I said, watch. And then the shirt turns
around the back, and it's a female. I love them. And then I thought when they had the underground like UFC thing going there, I like, oh my gosh, the FBI are here. What's going on? The FBI. Like nobody apparently can't read English. They only know the 3 letters, so in the back they don't really understand it. But yeah, that is so 90s, man. I used to see that all the time up here. Like when I go up to the Dells here, Wisconsin, and up north. And you'd see that, like, that's the thing. Female body inspector was always a big thing. I was like, what is this? This is so tacky. Who would wear this? Now I know that Rob owned a shirt.
It's an 80s thing, like the coffee mug that says coffee makes me poop. I mean, those are just certain things that you have to have.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool. I mean, like, for that part, And then the whole thing with Sam, she annoyed me. Well, I want to break, with, from you. And it's like, we'll just be friends. I'm thinking like, Miguel, just move on, leave her alone. He wouldn't buy this necklace, and he drops it because she broke up with him after he's going to try and, because he wanted to apologize because he went to Mexico and to go look for his dad, his birth dad, instead of being at the tournament to support her. And then she's upset because she lost. She got her ass kicked by Tori Nichols. Painless, who, yes, is 24. Sam is 26. So I see you guys in there. You're like, I don't know. I'm holding a comment as far as if you're just going to thirst over her.
They're legal.
They're legal, bro. They're way past legal. They got some mileage already. So, anyway, so I mean, Sam towards the end, okay, but I mean, like even then, it's like the way how they make up in the towards the end. She wants nothing to do with karate, and then she realized that just because I quit doesn't mean that you can never quit karate. Karate is life, and she uses it to protect her her mom and I guess her aunt. I guess because they're not blood related, but because they know Daniel, she's Daniel's friend at the bar and stuff. He does karate and stuff, and just I gotta say though, she got a little better, and not only that, the young the son, Larissa's son, I forget what his name is, but he reveals to her like that he was being bullied. She's like, wait, why didn't you say anything? He's like, well, I'm gonna have my older sister fight my battles for me, which I agree with him. But the fact that nobody else stood up for him, other than I think was it Hawk? Yeah, that was he was the only one that stood up for this kid in the beginning. At the pool. At the pool, the pool scene was kind of dumb too. I was thinking like, oh, we get this side, you get this side. I'm thinking like, dude, like go fight outside the thing, and then but he just felt so like Nickelodeon. This is our side. No, this is our side. Don't cross the line. It's just like, come on, really? Like, I guess now that I think about it, though, now that I said it out loud, this would be part of an 80s movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely would be. There's
so
and you can see it develop, and you know what's going to happen. You're going to have a big fight in a public place.
I can't fault it because that would be as far as if you forget, Karate Kid was corny as heck. That movie.
Oh yeah.
Like it wasn't like Rambo and stuff like this, or like losing masculinity. It was basically a kid being harassed, learns karate to kick ass, and wins at the end.
Well, yes. I had made the comment when we first talked about season 1. I'd made the comment that, who's to say Johnny's not in the right? And that was kind of the whole point. So when season 1 dropped and we started watching it and going over it, obviously there's a lot more 80s music in there. There's 1 or 2 songs definitely this season, not nearly as much as the first season or 2.
And Rocky 4, you had what was the other one? You had Poison, I think was one of them. Was Van Halen? It was another one too.
Yeah, Van Halen was in here, and when they're driving around in the limo, you've got Eye of the Tiger.
Yes.
And you've got a few more than you think. You got Billy Idol. And
yeah, he puts a Billy Idol because there's another thing. We forgot the man. Johnny is looking for a job now because he doesn't have a job. Because the babe come along, he's got some responsibility. He gets he's told by his ex-wife, hey, why don't you do Uber Eats? He's like, okay, whatever. So he's getting all these 1 stars because he's either missing the turns or stuff. One of the girls in the back is like, oh, can you put some like Billie Eilish on it? He's like, oh, Billie Eilish, sure. He starts blasting Moni Moni.
And that's a way of connecting the old versus the new,
But
go ahead.
I was gonna say I'd rather listen to the Billy Idol than listen to Billie Eilish or Billie Eilish, whatever it is, any day. And I can see how he's confused because there's so many new freaking artists. I'm slang. I'm pretty much where Johnny is when I hear kids talk. It's like, what the hell are you speaking? Third language?
There's some really nice touches in here, and I'm gonna point them out, and then we'll start breaking it down to the last episode, which is the only thing I thought was negative. So I want to hear your views on what I'm gonna say. But one nice touch I thought too was I can't remember her name, but she looks Asian. The one in Cobra Kai that Tori had to team up with. She was phenomenal. She was really, really good. They kind of worked together in the final fight against the Asian sensei woman, and that's tremendous. I don't remember her name. But she was in a little bit of last season too. She popped. She seemed like she matured. Was a good character. So
yeah, that's Devin.
The show does well.
The character's name is Devin. She joined Cobra Kai after the Cobra Kai basically took over all the dojos in the area.
The other thing I liked too was it's kind of a combo thing here. Now Robbie was always a little bit of a beautiful little punk kid, right? He'd be the sweet meat in jail and all that too, and. Well, he would. I mean, he's a good-looking guy. He's very pretty. He is, and he has a decent physique. But he's a tiny little guy. But he doesn't run his mouth as bad as others. He's a punk, and we see that he grew up on the mean streets of not not as tough as Pine Hills, but wherever he grew up there, or Reseda or whatever, in the show. But here we see him going from the good to the bad. He's in Kwai Chang Kang Kung Fu mode where he just doesn't really want to do anything, no violence. And he talks like this to everybody and he doesn't get riled up. And I like it. But the point is Johnny's taking them, taking them down on a father-son bonding trip down to Mexico to start the season off because they're looking for Miguel, because Miguel's trying to find his father. And that could have been a lot better with what they did, but I felt that kind of fizzled. But the thing is Johnny's trying to be the adult here and get these two guys to literally fight it out, which they do. But before it resolves to that, he's trying to find ways of getting together. He gets them to go to the Olive Garden, and then the other thing, which I popped hard for, and again, it's a great example of modern times that we didn't do things like this back in the 80s.
Escape room.
Yeah, he tried to make an escape room in his own house, and he locked it and he read stuff. I'm like, that's cool.
He glued the window shut, and then he hit the doorknob. So
it's fun, it's smart, and all that too. But those things I thought were really good. But before we get to episode 10 and my criticisms of it, which I think are going to be probably the biggest of any season so far here too, what would you like to say about anything else that you like before we jump into episode 10?
There's a lot of good actors in here too, coming back, recurring roles.
The MILFs are pretty hot in here too. Let's just be honest.
No bonsai trees were harmed in this making it the show. Point that out. No, but I Chosen. They went a little humorous with him, you know. The guy doesn't really drink. When Daniel, his wife, left him, Daniel basically been up all night drinking. He comes in and basically just, gives him coffee and tells him, and it's like, oh, so your wife left you, but you guys, there's also a chance you guys can make up. So, but I love that he's like, oh, there's a scene where they introduce the Mike Barnes, introduced to the show. He's got a furniture store, but they don't know that. But they think like, oh, let's get Tony's former protege, the guy who made Daniel's life a hell. And they find out he's working at this thing. And at first, Daniel thinks Daniel sneaks in by himself, past the warehouse guys, goes in, and he hears Mike on the phone with somebody, and he thinks he's talking to Silver. And he confronts him, and then he finds out he's a goofball. That what he said was all misunderstanding. He's talking about furniture and stuff. So after Chosen shows up, and there he's ready to fight him. He's like, no, we're not gonna fight. And we get to see a little bit of fighting as far as this guy can still move, but no longer being a kid. So they give him a little choreography, but that's kind of cool. And then when they get out, Chosen apparently he's like, oh yeah, he's not longer a bad guy. Then I am sorry for all the guys I beat up outside. And I like that Chosen also is going around carrying these sais with him. For those who don't remember, that's usually what Raphael and Ninja Turtle carry, and also what Electra carried in the comic books.
Well, and, it's going to come into play.
Yes. But I love the fact he carries him around there the whole entire season. And then he tries to bring him into the nightclub, because they're going to celebrate. Johnny's being a father, going to be a father and stuff. And he goes in there, he's like, bro, he has no weapons. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, you get him when you come back. I'm thinking, if that had been normal, they would have called the cops. This guy's bringing weapons into a thing. Anyway, so we found out a little more about him. I love his. There's one episode that stands out, and I think it's episode 8, where he's basically training the kids to work together as a team. They each getting these little eggs, and the kids are just stupid. Like, what are you even getting an egg for? He's like, you protect them, as this bird, he's endangered. So he has a little speech about this bird. It has to protect its egg from the snake. Finally, until they get the idea that they have to work together, but the dude just takes them out one by one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it, and it's what's the big picture? What's the lesson he's trying to learn? It's simple storytelling, but again, a lot of people want to put in messaging or other things and stay away from it. Just have this here. We can see it develop as these things go on, right? It gives us a chance to see these 20 or 30 background characters that you never know which one's in the next season. If there's going to be another one, might get more prominent time. That's the greatness of having such a flexible cast where you can do that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, the one thing I was thinking too, because of all the kids that keep coming back, only a few of them had speaking parts. But there was the one girl, I believe her name was Beth. I think her name was the one that was apparently she moved away. That was a heavyset girl from the first season.
Hmm.
I think she's no longer with the show or whatever reason, but I noticed that she was gone. They haven't brought her back, and a few others, uh, but don't worry, guys. Peanut's breath is in there throughout the whole entire season. So
Yeah, and that comes into play as well. But here's the thing: halfway through the episode, you get a couple scenes, like you mentioned before, of a young Kreese and Silver and their
yes,
connection. So it deepens it. So you understand what's going on. And part of this it has nothing to do with Silver. We're not seeing Kreese, so it's good to take somebody that's supposed to be a bad guy or whatever, and less is more, right?
Mhm.
And here we see that Kreese is in jail,
Oh yeah, the
and he's
hallucinations.
getting he's an old man in jail, literally. So we can think of him as Kreese, but the bottom line is we go, oh, how's he going to get along in jail? And he's seeing a lady in there that can help determine whether or not he gets early
Yeah,
release. So with that, um, it's a great piece of acting where he basically bullshits her about seeing the light and everything else there too, and she says, hey, I don't believe you, because he's surprised he doesn't get the release when he gets the letter. And so she basically says, hey, look, I'm a therapist. I have a lot of experience. I've been around. She goes, I know when someone's trying to play me. It's your choice. I'm here. You can see me. Doesn't mean you're going to get out early, but you still have got some things you can do. And this is where you see him starting to take the role in prison of being the main guy. That's his nature, right? He can't do that.
but he
He's
does.
not getting his ass beat.
Yeah,
He becomes the man. So it's kind of cool. But here's the thing: when I say that this episode 10 has some bad stuff in there, it starts earlier on with this scene with Kreese, because we see him kind of open up and basically almost cry, talking about what he went through and everything else there too.
it's
And you don't
in
know
the
if he's bullshit or real,
no,
but
but
it's so powerful. She decides to get close to him and console him, and I immediately just threw my popcorn here and well, what the hell are you doing? You went through and showed us that you're a professional. You're not buying this bullshit. You get close to him, he could kill you. He could do whatever. You're not supposed to be doing that. The reason why that's important is because in episode 10 we have
I want to
one
say
very horrible thing that defines the
yeah,
episode.
but before you get there, I want to say when he's talking, he's emotional. It starts off instead of seeing the therapist person, he sees the girl he liked. She died. Remember, for those who
Yeah.
forgot, she
Yeah.
died before he came back, and that's what set off on his dark path. And then you see everyone he's basically meant to. She basically morphs into everyone. Johnny, Daniel, everyone, and this how he betrayed. And it's talking about how he betrayed them. And you almost see him like he actually is legit, like he's traumatized, and you see it through his eyes. Finally, he starts losing. He starts trying to the ghosts of his past. And I thought it was so cool and so moving the way they did it, the way they cut it.
And
But
not too long either, just enough for you to
no,
go, okay, they're human. They're not just an
5 minute
evil
thing. So
2D figure, right? So for me, when I see this, I'm going, okay, what's going to happen here? Because we always know there's a big fight. Usually in public, we didn't. We get the bikini laden Tori going down in a race, and there was no
yeah,
fight. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Here's the problem I have with episode 10, which I think is insulting and kind of pisses me off, and it kind of flows together. I can almost forgive it, but the second part I can't. And it's this: we know Kreese is smart. We know he's got street sense. So I'm immediately railing at the fact that the people that wrote the show showed us that Chosen's kind of a goofy guy, but's got some insight, wants to help out and all that too. So hey, he's got his own legacy issues. We find out that with Silver, the grand plan to expose him and to win is going to come down to two things. And the Reluso adults, I'll call them, and kids arrive at this decision, the same decision independently. The adults decide, as they were being driven away by a drunken Mike Barnes in the limo and deposited outside, they're drunk and they even say, well, let's go beat Silver's ass right now. It's 4 against 1 or like that. And he won't see it coming. And then LaRusso's like, no, this is a really, really bad idea. And he's like, yeah, that's right. Silver won't see it coming. I'm like, okay, this is dumb. What's going to happen? They actually do that. And I'm sitting there shaking my head going, they literally take and just kind of go right through his security up to his mansions. He's sitting there talking about his legacy stuff with his female sensei leader and all that too. And she's a badass. And he sees this coming on and he doesn't flinch. So you're like, okay, I get what's going on with this guy. He doesn't have that maniacal look like when he was younger. So he's dialed in, he's focused, right? And so the whole idea is the adults are going to go in there and beat the shit out of him. The kids are going to go break into the Cobra Kai Academy, steal the footage of him basically saying, yeah, I paid off the raft, while they're hacking into it and doing this. Of course, he was smart enough to erase it, but he wasn't smart enough to erase the footage of him explaining, stuff to Tori about fixing it all. Because the big fight is when the bad kids show up there, that they're fighting all this and that, and meanwhile going back and forth, you get everybody getting their ass kicked. And while I appreciate that Johnny looked like he was going to die there, the picture of the sonogram of his child to be falls out on the floor. He sees it, gets the second win, beats the shit out of everybody. And you're like, fuck yeah, that's good shit. You see Chosen get serious and take on the challenge of Silver, and it's a great shot throughout by the
sword fighting, and then he's using the size again to block the sword. Does it 3 or 4 times. I was like, this is actually like legitimately great.
It was great. Then you're like, okay, I guess Chosen's going to be set up to die, because you see Silver take advantage of a situation or whatever, and it looks like, actually Chosen gets the upper hand, but then he really doesn't. And of course, like I said before, you can be cut in half and still live in friggin' movies, and it's stupid. Chosen appears to die getting sliced across the back. And then you see Silver and his adults go to the academy where their kids are all fighting. Then they practice
him and Kim show up. Yeah. Kim Day and then Silver both show up there. He leaves the other ones basically to kill
and I'm standing there, and Silver's giving the speech about how, okay, I got attacked on my own property. It's only the two of you left, which is a great line, even though we knew Johnny was alive. We assumed Chosen should have been dead. And right at this point, I'm sitting there going, if I'm a judge and I'm looking at what's been made through Discovery here with me, I go, this guy's got a point. And even though they play the videotape in time for the good kids and the bad kids, Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do's kids, to see what Silver was doing, and then nobody wants to listen to him, LaRusso decides to end up getting in the fight with him, does the crane kick into the Cobra Kai statue and knocks him out. And I'm looking at this going, you can argue that some people are more overpowered than others, but the last friggin' person out of any of them, to me, that should have won that fight was LaRusso. I just don't give a rat's ass. We never see him fight. In real life, he's not that physically active, and I'm not knocking on him at all, because he does his role great, but it's just not believable. And the way Silver towers over him, it's just a joke. And I thought, there's absolutely no way this is going on. So at the end, everybody seems happy. You see Silver getting put into the police car, and like, oh, look at all the charges they're gonna. One of the cops even says, "Oh, Silver, the litany of charges he's gonna have on him." But no, it gets worse.
I'll say that with the cop thing was kind of dumb, but with Daniel LaRusso, it is believable because is.
For you, maybe not for me.
The first time he went up against Silver, he was caught off guard. He was full of anger, hatred, everything that's going on. So in the very last fight, they're showing it how he basically, remember, Silver is the one that taught him how to fight. So he basically was able to block Silver's moves towards the end because he was clear and calm. He wasn't all clouded by anger.
Not buying it.
I buy it.
He was furious, not buying it.
I'm buying it, man, because it's the same crap they pull in the movies.
As weak as all that was, I was willing to overlook it based on the momentum. Everything up to this point got me to. I'm really legitimately, even though I'm criticizing it, I'm not mad at it.
But Silver,
what I did not like was the end, though.
All Silver had to do is basically, it just had to call the cops, say, hey, somebody broke into my dojo. Call the cops there and stay there with
ruins all sense of believability.
Johnny. But
Silver's not that stupid.
But the thing is that Silver, I know in the third movie, what I've seen of him, he looks kind of crazy, and crazy people can be stupid. They can be smart.
He's not that way this season, though, is he?
They build him up to be crazy and stuff, but even what's his name says he has a weakness, Kreese. So unless Kreese tells him what the weakness is, it should have been more of a fight. The whole thing with the crane cake that was dumb. They shouldn't have done the crane cake, but in front of everybody else.
Okay.
So Silver should have went down without. If there should have been a fight, though, it should have been him after, like, with the cops there, losing it, going crazy.
There's a lot of different ways you could have done this. I felt it was slapped together. It was insulting to see it end like that. I agree with you. I mean, I get it. I understand it. I don't approve of that. messaging. What I really don't approve of is really the end credits, if you will. Because no, I'm serious. This pissed me off. This is horrible. This is a major negative to me. While we all loved the way Kreese debuted at the end of, I think it was episode season 1, light the cigar up and all, and they're like, fuck yeah, I can't wait for him to come back, right? Tease us a little bit. He gets stabbed in prison. He gets shanked by one of the guys that he was trying to help out. And he's standing there in disbelief. Hold on. He's there in disbelief because he's trying to break up a fight. So you're like, oh, this is just what the lady mentioned before about him trying to, make the best of what time he has, what he can control of. So he's being wheeled out on the gurney. He's bleeding all out from the guts. They get into the one room where they all stop for absolutely no reason because it's not like an official room. The little pea-brain doctor looks at him, touches the blood spot with his fingers, smells it with his fingers, and he's like, oh, that's ketchup or whatever it was. Kreese comes back to life like fucking Michael Myers.
It was Jello.
Whatever, Jello, I get it. But the point is he comes to life, takes them all out, and you see him leaving. And you can play My Way, not the Sinatra version, by the way, somebody else's version.
Yeah.
And I get it, and I understand it, but I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. After this silver nonsense, they give us this crap. Complete.
I saw this coming when he got stabbed, shanked, because
Absolutely.
he wanted to get out of prison.
Yes.
So why would he not have this guy play it? The whole thing, they kept talking the whole battle.
I don't disagree. It just felt very weak.
Yeah, I think it was actually kind of clever. I mean, it even shows it when he saw her badge, how he observed her. She scanned her way out. They kept showing it. When he hugged her, I was like, oh, he's breaking out.
When she got physically close to him a few episodes earlier, whenever it was, he lifted the badge. And of course, however time it takes between that and her actually leaving for coffee.
Now, as far as the thing going off, the alarm going off and stuff, the guards running past him, most guards would have stopped him. They'd like, hey, what's going on? And he would have had to knock him out and just run out and escape that way. But they made it more like a spy thing. It's like, well, but then again, people are idiots.
It was like Jason Bourne. I mean, come on.
Kreese
is not Jason Bourne.
No, but he is. He served though, as far as the military and stuff. He's crafty. He's smart. Kreese only went down because somebody else basically snitched on him and said, but lied and said that he, that was the whole thing. That was with Stingray, which
Let me ask you this, and I'll hand it over to you. I don't have a problem with Stingray, but I feel a little uncomfortable because he's that dude at a weird age hanging out with people that, while it's not illegal, he just seems weird to me, and it's really the only uncomfortable thing out of all these seasons. Once in a while, you run into this guy, you're like, "Hey, who's that dude?" Oh, that's Stingray. It was like, does he sell pot? I mean, what's the deal? Why is he here?
He just likes younger kids. That's all, and it comes off creepy.
It's weird, isn't it?
He's in his 30s. It'd be like me and going to be like, hey, fellow high schoolers, you want to hang out after school? No.
But there'll be the occasional girl that'll be like, oh, you want to give me a ride home?
Yes, there's always that one girl. Don't let it be your daughter. Stingray, he gets into, so basically Stingray was, if you haven't figured it out, I think they said it in the last season. I actually showed it what happened.
Yes.
But, so they remind you, though, that Terry Silver beat the shit out of him and then made him accuse Kreese. That's how Kreese went to jail.
Yep.
In exchange for this is the thing, too. I thought this would have made it much better, much darker if Silver would have killed him. If he would have said something. Or he thinks he's going to, because after he's finding Daniel, because he basically Silver set him up, that Stingray, with his own apartment stuff. And an allowance and stuff, and basically in exchange for his silence, for his part. What after finding Danny Lewis in there with a PS5, because originally Danny and I believe it was Chosen had gone in there. Mm-hmm. They confront him. They knew he was lying because somebody saw a newspaper clipping calling him a liar, which they turned out to be was actually Kreese using he got it into his Tori delivered. So Danny went back in there to apologize. The apartment opened the door. It was unlocked, open. So he walked in there. Stinger was there. He's like, "Hey, I got your PS5." Next, gets confronted by Silver. Now at that point, okay, this guy Danny knows where this guy is. This guy's a liability. If Terry Silver was really a villain, he would have killed Stingray. So that way Stingray can't change his mind, recant.
And that, without really having thought about it, could actually be more ammunition from my point about why
It just shows
episode
you
10
he's not as
was a
smart as
mess.
everybody thinks he is. Danny's just an idiot. It comes
He
down to
is.
it.
Danny
Yeah,
is, and
yeah,
that's unfortunate.
yeah.
Now
So
at the end, the limo pulls up. Johnny's in there. There's hugs and kisses for everybody around. Everybody's kind of chill with each other. Everybody's friends,
now this is the part I had a problem with, because when they show who else comes out,
and that would be Chosen.
Chosen should have died.
Yeah.
Dude get sliced thing. But they want to keep it lighthearted, so they're like, "Oh, Chosen's a great character." Because what happens when someone talks? Because early in the episodes, Chosen said how he likes the other girl from Karate Kid 2, the one that was with Danny. He's like,
Yep.
"Oh, I've always had a crush on her, but she helped me after everything, after I lost to you and stuff, after events of that." And like and Danny is like, "Oh, like it's like, oh, you love her?" He's like, "You should call her." Like he leaves a message at the end outside the bar, the drunk message saying like, "I wish you would have came here" and stuff, blah blah.
Yeah, you drunk
And
dial.
that's my reason why he should have died, because whenever someone confesses their heart, talks about the misconnections, that's when they die.
Yeah, that's when you need to get stomped on.
Yes, and that's why I was like, "Oh, he's gonna die," and like, he's alive. Ugh. I was like, "Come on, really?" But then again, then I remember this is a freaking kid show. It's not for, if this would have been a more serious show. Oh, dude, everything. Kreese would have killed people. He would have killed that guy. Not to knock him out.
Yeah, and it's just, look, and it sounds like I'm bitching about a lot with the
Well,
last
there is
episode,
what
and I kind
there
of
is
am, but
there is
overall,
what.
like the season 9 is so good.
So season 6 is gonna have a problem because Kreese broke out of jail. But if he would have waited, though, he would have been released because he was legally put in their thing. So I think they're gonna have a court case, hearing, saying Kreese, like, even though you broke out of jail, all charges are dropping you, but now there's new charges because you assaulted guards. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I probably get, being LA and Los Angeles and court and stuff. The courts are gonna be like, "Oh, we don't want this bad publicity, so we're letting you go."
Right.
So that might, now this comes out that season 6, Kreese is out. Everybody hates him. I wonder. My prediction for Kreese. I think Kreese is basically going to just say, "You know what? He's actually changed his ways."
Kreese?
I think at the end he's gonna be a good guy to the end, and you're gonna hate it. But that's what they're gonna do with him, giving him
And
a
what
happy
about
ending.
Silver?
Silver's in jail.
He's got the best lawyers.
Silver's gonna be put away. That's just the way the writing is. Like, you're gonna hate it.
Here's my take on Silver. Let me throw this at you. Remember, I very deliberately described how he met the LaRussos. And that was when I think they were visiting in the hospital. Lawrence, getting the sonogram. I forget what it was. But when I said they were in the elevator, they were in the hospital. Why is Silver there? Remember, the beginning of season 4, he looked haggard. The guy looks great now, and he's an older guy. But they did a really great job of making him look like somebody that was older on medication. He was screaming back then with his people about doctors and all that. It was a great way to set up, hey, here's an older guy that might be sickly and kind of crazy, but sharp too. They had him playing the piano in a furious manner, which always lets us to believe the guy's not so, which that's an underused little item. So, like I say, I'm thinking the legacy thing with Silver is legit. And there's a part of me that goes, the only way to finish this is overseas somewhere, somehow, with something, I don't know if it means a duel of the death like the Kumite or any of that stuff, but I'm not saying it has to be a dark show or negative or completely adult-like or violent, but I think at some point what has to happen when they wrap this up is that, like I say, if it ends now, it's fine. They could put together a feel-good kind of, season 6 a little bit, but I think you have to give people clear directions on what they think they're going to be as an adult, because 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if they choose to revisit it, they could bring back these younger actors, because some of them probably might make it a little bit bigger and may not want to be a part of it. But some of the other ones wouldn't. They can redo this in several years, and it'll be a hit as long as they're involved and they keep true to it. So how do you finish things up to leave it open? Well, I think you have to be a little positive about it too. And I think Johnny's could maybe fade to the background because of the kid. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could take it. I just did not like the way this season ended. It's the worst ending of all the seasons to me.
my final thoughts on this, I give it a 4 out of 5 because there is agreed there are some loose up things. We may disagree on which they are, but it's still better than compared to all the other seasons. A lot better.
Yeah. All right. Well, one final question for you and for anybody else that's in chat right now as we're going through this: are you hashtag Team Tori or Team Sam?
Well, I gotta go with the younger woman, Tori. Sam, I agree with Brewer, man. Sam is out the door at 27.
The Leo method of dating. Yeah, 25, you're gone. Maybe not on the 25th, but 25th and a half, it's done.
And that's another thing. Hilary Swank, was originally part of
she was number 4, I think, right?
Was it number 4?
The next Karate Kid, I think that was number 4.
They probably won't add her then. Who knows? But yeah,
it's good stuff. I agree with you. It's probably the best, most consistent episode or season out of all of them. It's great, and despite any flaws I have described, whether you decide you like them or not when you watch it, I'm sure you're still going to enjoy it. So this thing is good. It's a shame that it almost feels like it's the end, because I go, this is like what you would call great daytime TV soap opera stuff.
Yeah.
You want it to continue. It's not an hour. An hour would be too long, but 30 minutes, man, they're chewing it up. You got all these characters, and there's so many young ones that you're like, I don't know who they are, but sometimes they're good enough in their scene. And
so
the one dude that's the Asian bro guy, I forget his name, the one that gets beat up by the kid that becomes the new alpha, he nails his role. He's great in it too. I mean, and he's been around there since the first. It's awesome. I mean, there's lots of good stuff to enjoy.
How you finish out this series in Chuck Norris, season 6 comes in
with the thumbs up.
He's the new villain.
Yeah, Zach's pointing out the fact that Miguel went to a house party like that, and some chick was
lip locked with him, and then
then
Sam's like, oh, hurt stuff. It's like, oh, he kissed a guy. It's like, he's like, dude, you broke up with me. I didn't break up with you.
I think she needs to go Cobra Kai. She needs to get the bad.
That's the dream. When she was in that self deprivation thing or tank,
yep,
and she was fighting against her Cobra Kai self. I was like, it's like that. I popped for that. I was like, I want evil Sam. But
yeah,
I don't know. Who knows? Right now, all I know is that Miguel and Robbie are basically on the same side, and just like how their dads are, their dads are on the same side. So we'll find out as far as what goes on, But until then, keep on kicking. That's what I say.
Yeah, nice job. This is we always love talking Cobra Kai, so probably another year or so before we talk the next one. But keep an eye out, guys, for some stuff coming up here in the fall too. Some extra episodes we're going to be recording for some horror movies. Professor Pixel and I are just finished up the Prisoner, our last episode, so we've been producing those. We've got the next James Bond coming up here. It's going to be The Spy Who Loved Me before we go on to the next one. Personal favorite of mine, Moonraker. But we're going to be diving into some horror movies and everything too.
Also, real quickly, I want to comment on Zach. Sam could never go Cobra Kai because she's a rich girl. Everyone that's been at Cobra Kai has been like poor kids. Tori, Robbie, Miguel, Alpha Broken Homes.
That's why it needs to work. Her and Asian evil sensei female lady, they need to become besties and start bad mouthing everybody that's not Cobra Kai and just make it work. They'll get some people back. It was a nice scene though with all the kids walking up to Silver there at the end once he was exposed and throwing their jerseys just on top of him walking out. That was done well. That was good.
There's also quickly there's a name. She gets name dropped as being Jean-Claude Van Damme in this series.
That's true.
By her brother.
That's true.
Yep.
She needs to take somebody out. If she does that and goes pure dark side, that would be great. That'd make me want to watch the show. Dark Sam. That's what we need, right?
This is on Netflix, yes. So,
yes, Ed. Just dropped, I think, Friday.
10 episodes, 30 minutes each, except for the last 2, which are like 40.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys, there you have it. Cobra Kai Season 5. Enjoy. Have a good night. As always, thanks for watching, listening, and getting the word out about the Xtreme Movie Show. And as always, stay extreme.
All right.
Team 20. All the way.